Joel Torres para Contralona y me place presentar en este momento a la productora ejecutiva de NWA EMPOWERRR, Mickie James. It's so great to have you here in Contralona. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me. Gracias.
So you speak something in Spanish already?
Muy poquito. I took 3 years, 3 años of Spanish in school, and some of it stuck. I was saying earlier that I could probably speak as good as a toddler. But I've been, to many Spanish speaking countries, and I've always that was one of the language, because it's the most spoken language in the world, that I was really wanted to learn and kind of get a hold of. What my issue was is I took 2 years of French at the same time because I'm an overachiever. And so my Spanish and French both started to blend together in this weird, I don't even know what, it's not like Spanglish. It was like French and Spanish, English mix.
French,
kind of like Portuguese, maybe, I guess.
Maybe.
Portuguese-ish. Yeah.
Also, yes.
Something like that. But no. Thank you so much for having me. I told you, I was like, we've been to Mexico a bunch, and I was like, I can find the bar and I can find the bathroom and I can find the library.
At least it's something. Yeah.
It's something, yes.
That's great. So how thrilled are you with NWA Power? We are just a few hours away. I mean,
I tell you what, it's so exciting, and the excitement has been building, and I've been doing so much. You're my last media, I think, but I have been doing media, I feel like, every day, all day, especially for these last 2 weeks, along with, trying to get this show together and do all the things. But there's certainly a massive amount of excitement going on around the NWA and the locker room, around St. Louis and the Chase, around just wrestling fans as a whole. I think everyone's really, really excited about this event. I know I am, and I'm excited for the ladies. I know they're all just can't wait, and I'm just honored to be able to pull this off. Fingers crossed, both of them. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna kill it.
How this idea, making this event came up to, or why this idea came to you?
I think this is something that when you say why did it come to me, it wasn't even something that just came to me. I think it's something that we, as far as any woman in the industry, I think, and like we've always tried to, or my personal journey, and a lot of women that I've spoke to, or like my colleagues and stuff, we've always wanted to be taken seriously, and we've always wanted to be seen as and treated as equals in the business, especially us who came in the hard way and had to take the bumps and the bruises and be treated as one of the boys for so long, but never be aligned or promoted or pushed as one of the boys in the sense. So it's really cool to kind of start to bring that into fruition. I know that Empower is just the start for not only the NWA brand, but I feel like it's going to be the start of this whole new resurgence and platform for women's wrestling as a whole. There's an immense amount of talent out there across the brands, across the world. And it's really, really exciting to be able to put that in the public eye and to kind of wake everyone up to say, no, this is real. And these girls are impactful, and they're stunning, and they are athletes, and they kick butt. And that's somebody that I have a little boy, but if I had a little girl, these are girls that I would want my little girl to watch to inspire to be like, so that's really the exciting part.
So why choosing NWA for this as a platform, or maybe not other company?
Well, I think it just kind of magically aligned, with NWA. Obviously, I've sat back quietly behind the scenes as I was back, at WWE, and I was seeing a lot of the work that was happening because my husband is the champion and Billy is my friend, and a lot of these conversations were happening in my house, and and I tried to stay out of it and let them kind of steer the ship. But it was exciting. It was exciting to watch the NWA brand revitalized and brought back to life, in a sense that, people were reminded of the wrestling that they fell in love with, the wrestling that they would watch with their family, with their parents, with their grandparents. And a lot of our audience goes like, gosh, I watched it again with my dad, and he's fallen all back in love with wrestling. He hasn't watched wrestling in 20 years, and now he wants to watch the NWA. Like, that's really, really cool. And, you know, it was kind of got to a point where, you know, the NWA was one of those things of like, it was almost, and I say this, but it was almost a dead brand. You know, there was a couple of territories still left. It was like NWA Texas or NWA North Carolina or NWA, but when Billy took over, he kind of brought all that stuff back in house and was like, no, we're from the ground up, we're going to rebuild this and remind everyone about the history and the legacy and the nostalgia and how important the NWA is when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. And I think that's gone across the board. I mean, he just acquired Mildred Burke's championship belt, her first ever championship belt, who was the mother of professional wrestling when you think about the real history of women's wrestling. Yeah. And how she was main eventing the show before glass ceilings were even invented, in a sense. So as a women's champion, you know, and so I think for us to be able to remind people of her history and her legacy and the story and what she kind of had to go through, because it was a very different business then, and how her legacy almost got forgotten, and to be able to remind people about that is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. And I think, you know, the future is so bright for us, and it felt right with the NWA because the NWA feels like family to me. And the NWA is obviously very close to me as far as that's what I grew up watching with my dad. And it's the type of wrestling that really connects with me. You know, those shooting from the podium, shooting those promos and the promos straight down the lenses, like that's the personalities and the characters and that kind of development about real men and real women who came to fight. And I just love it. I love that it's so different, and it's not like anything else that you see on television, and it's not trying to be, because it doesn't need to be. And it's old school wrestling with a modern delivery, and that's really freaking cool. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
I think it's great. What has been the most challenging thing that you have to deal with, you know, working for this Empower event?
There's been so many challenges and unforeseen challenges, and, you know, but I call them all like little blessings because they're learning curves for me. You know, I really wanted to take on this role, and it was something that I chose to do, and I'm very grateful for it. And I was grateful when Billy asked me to do this. But it comes with a lot of work, and it comes with a lot of decisions, and it comes with having to tell people no. And I don't like telling people no. It comes with, but I do know that even in like all my no's are not forever no's, because I do feel like this is just the beginning of something that's going to be huge for us in the future. But at the end of the day, there's only so much time, so many hours and so much time and so many matches. And so I as much as I wanted to have everybody highlighted, there's only so much that I could do. And even in just like the restraints between like forbidden doors and all these things of like learning that balance and what was going to work and how to present that in a place in a way that everyone shines, and that everyone, you know, is lifted up and all the divisions shine in the sense, because that was really something that I thought, you know, it's not something that one company is doing right now for their women. No company has a product, a television product or any kind of marquee product that is exclusively to highlight their women. And we've all had plenty of shows that are exclusive to highlight our men. But for us to be able to come together, you know, and one team, one dream kind of thing, and say, you know what, you're right, and let's do this and let's do it together and see what the people do. And it's just been really cool to have that and to have that synergy. And it just feels good because I feel like I've spent a career proving people wrong. And when people have told me, no, you can't do that, then I went and did it anyway. And this is certainly one of those circumstances. But I have a lot of support from all ends of the spectrum, from my friends to my colleagues to my former colleagues, who all are very supportive and applaud myself. But I couldn't do it without any of them, because it's taken a lot of work and a lot of women and a lot of pavement that's been laid down for us to get here, you know? So yeah. I'm excited.
So how great is working, you know, alongside with your husband now in NWA, you know, he being the world champion for a long time
The
in
real
NWA.
world's
Yeah,
champion.
yes.
It's amazing. You know, I always say we've, you know, Nick and I met in wrestling. That's how, when my first departure and I went over to Impact, that's how we met, is we met in wrestling. It's always hard when your significant other is in the same business and in the same industry as you are. And I've always thought it's very difficult, especially when you're in the same company. And it's like a lot of our careers, we've been at kind of different places and doing our own thing. So it's always, I can support him and he supports me. But it's been a really cool balance of our life, of trying to find this. And he's always been supportive of me, as I've been always been supportive of him. He's always been supportive of me, and understood where I was coming from with a lot of things. And I think the cool thing is that I'm just not like heading up in the locker room and as a talent, but the fact that I've been giving reins on the female division kind of as a whole feels like the right fit for me, you know? So it's definitely interesting. And I think if anything, the biggest struggle is to take a break and not talk about work at home, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So tell me about, you know, NWA is known for, you know, in the past being part of the territories and stuff, including Puerto Rico on the 80s. Tell me about NWA now working in some way with Impact Wrestling, AEW, and other companies, and also the promotions letting people like Diona Purazzo and Layla Hirsch being part of Empower this Saturday.
It's incredible. It's incredible when you think about it. Like, and I think NWA has always been big on that whole forbidden door. If anything, they were probably one of the first to start kicking that down, because they were working with Ring of Honor and they were doing stuff there. And then, you know, it was the Thunder Rosa being able, you know, to go from NWA to go over to AEW and do some, you know, work there. And I think at the end of the day, when I look back at wrestling as a whole, and a lot of the talent, especially on the, you know, territorial days, when we talk about that, there would be talent that would jump from territory to territory, whether they kind of had wrestled everyone they could wrestle in that territory at that time, and they would switch and they would go from New York and they would go to Texas or whatever the case may be. And it kept the talent roster fresh. It kept the matches fresh. It gave people, you know, target, like those target markets or whatever, different matchups, but also they could get over in a different area and space that they hadn't, you know, the audience hadn't seen them before. So I think it's really, really important. Because there's a lot of times when you're signed to a company that you will sit back for a while and not do anything. And it's not for nothing. It's not because you're not valued or you're not important, but it's because there's only so much space on the show or whatever. And so how cool is it if it's something like that, when you're not really utilizing the talent as you should, that perhaps there could be something that still adds value and credibility to that talent somewhere else, that then makes it even fresher when they come back through the doors. And I think that's really, really cool. I thought, for me, showing back up at Slammiversary and here in Hardcore Country again, and I was able to do so much amazing work at Impact. I felt like in a time where I was in a huge lull and probably a lot of self-doubt about myself and about my career, I was able to go over there and completely redefine myself and create this whole new Mickie James that was edgier, and she was cool, and she was more authentic to who she really was. And I did a lot of cool things over there, from, you know, hardcore matches to, I was for the longest time, the only woman who had ever been in a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match against Jeff Jarrett, where he beat the crap out of me. Yeah. But even when I was able to main event the show with my friend Lisa Marie on GAW TV every Wednesday, make sure you're watching, with SoCal Val, we main evented the show, you know, and at that time Impact was giving their women 2 segments of the show, long segments, because the women equaled ratings. And that was the reality. That's pretty much what Vince Russo said, is like, the reason why the women get these long 2 segments on the show is because the ratings are through the roof when the ladies are on the show, guys. Like, you know, so I think that they were doing stuff for their women well before it was catchy and cool. But that's really what helped set that Give Divas a Chance movement in a sense, because they were seeing it happen elsewhere and they couldn't understand why it wasn't happening there. But yeah, and now with AEW, I mean, AEW is kicking down a lot of doors and making massive headways for sure, especially recently with the signing of Punk and all of that. But for Camille to be able to, and I look at Camille and she is a hell of a champion. She's an amazing woman. She's an amazing performer, but she's also an incredible athlete, like top to bottom. But to see her show up on AEW, and for them to showcase that #1 contenders match against two women who I really love. Like, I love Allie so much. I've known her for a very long time. I've wrestled her. She's very, very talented. But that was really one of the first, like, real showcasings I had seen of Layla Hirsch. And I know she's got a huge MMA background, and she is legit. That's why she calls herself that. But that match itself, when I look at them, you know, visually, so especially because we got that visual on television there, could not be more different. They could not be more different women. They could not be more different fighting styles. They could not be more different backgrounds. And I think it's a really, really cool story. And I kind of sympathize, or I'm kind of with Layla in a sense. Obviously, I'm pulling for our champion. However, I've always been the underdog in pretty much every fight that I've been in, because everyone's pretty much always towered over me. That's the thing for being vertically challenged. But so I totally get it. And I think I'm like, what a killer David and Goliath story that is, you know, of two polar opposites, like going head to head. And it's going to be a real interesting matchup for sure, because Camille definitely leans on her power and Layla definitely leans on her legitness and the fact that she can break your arm. So
yeah.
Tell
me about your match. You're returning to the ring against Kylie Rae.
I know. And all the excitement about Empower. There's one thing that I don't forget to mention, but I'm like, I'm wrestling the next night for the first time and I'll have to look this up, because my last match on television was against Zelina Vega.
Yes.
So almost a year it's been, not quite, but almost a year since I've actually performed in a ring, and to be able to wrestle Kylie Rae, like, she's so talented. And she is one of those women that everyone's like, you got to watch this girl. You got to watch this girl. And I felt like I gave Billy the option. I said, you get to choose whoever my opponent, whoever you want me to wrestle, as, you know, like my gift to him, as if that's a big gift. But to whoever you want to see me face at NWA 73, I'm happy. Let's make it happen. You know, as part of, since we're doing Empower together and you're let me do this, like, because he did ask, like, who do you want to wrestle? And I'm like, I'm letting you choose.
Okay.
You choose. So I was very happy with who he chose, because I feel like it's the perfect first match back for me, especially after coming off of an awesome night that hopefully we're still going to be celebrating the next day. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. That's going to
be we know it's going to be a historic night, Empower. Yeah. I think so. So where the fans can watch Empower, NWA Empower?
They can watch it exclusively on FITE TV. And if you go now to FITE TV, you can there's a beautiful bundle package, because we just talked about NWA 73, which is also going to be huge, massive, monumental, historic. The Nate is in the place. He's coming back to the NWA for Wrestling at the Chase. My husband's championship is on the line. Trevor's whole career is on the line. The tag team championships are on the line. The NWA Women's Championship will be defended that night against the winner between Camille and Layla versus the winner of the first ever NWA Women's Inaugural Cup. So that title could potentially change hands twice over the weekend. It's going to be an awesome night. You can watch all of it on FITE TV. There's an amazing bundle package that you can get both pay-per-views with a discount, because we love you so much. And it's going to be amazing.
I think so. I know it's going to be a very great weekend for NWA, a historic weekend. Mickie, this has been great. I want to thank you for being here with us in Contralona. And we hope to see you, obviously, once again in Puerto Rico sometime.
I can't wait.
It's very hard right here.
Right now, luggage. You don't even know. I told Nick, I said, he goes, what do you want for your birthday? Because my birthday is on Tuesday. He's like, what do you want for your birthday? And I go, babe, I know I said this and we just never do it. I want a vacation.
Okay.
That's what I really want. A real vacation. That would be lovely. And I said tennis shoes too. And then I went out and bought sneakers and he was very upset.
That's great. That's great. So to end this interview, Mickie, want to send a message to all the fans in Puerto Rico, in Latin America that are watching you right now?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you all for being so loving and supporting, not just with Empower, but throughout my entire career. And I could not have had the career that I've had. I could not have thrived and done everything that I have been able to do without my fans. And I'm very grateful for that. And I will never forget that because, if you guys didn't love me so, then people wouldn't want me to show up. And I'm so great. So that's amazing. And thank you. I am very grateful. And I want to say thank you for supporting us and for having me on today. But, for supporting NWA Empower and the NWA brand as a whole. What we're trying to do over is very different. It's very special to me. And I hope it's special to you too.
Mi gente, Mickie James, productora ejecutiva de NWA EMPOWERRR, la vieron aquí. ¿Dónde más? En Contralona, conectando la lucha libre contigo.